Have you felt a change in the air when it comes to AI? It seems like overnight, the global conversation went from asking, should we do this, to a frantic race of how fast can we possibly go? Well, today we're digging into a concept that absolutely nails this phenomenon. It's called the inverse law of AI, and it suggests that as the money and the speed go up, caution and responsibilities start to go way, way down.
Okay, so let's start with this core idea, the responsibility index. Just picture a set of scales. On one side, you've got all the heavy stuff, safety, ethics, taking our time. And on the other side, you've got speed, massive scale, and just huge amounts of investment. The whole argument we're looking at today is that as one side gets piled high with cash, the other one gets dangerously light.
And this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you see capital investment in AI just shooting for the moon. And on the right, the focus on safety and ethics, well, it's not even close. And look, this isn't just a hunch. It's a trend you can actually trace through the big official meetings where world leaders are supposedly shaping the future of AI.
To really see this inverse law in action, we're going to follow what our source material calls the diplomatic caravan of AI governance. Think of it as a journey across the globe that tells a pretty startling story of just how quickly caution is getting left behind.
It all kicked off in 2023 in The Hague, with a really heavy, serious focus on responsible military AI. From there, the caravan kept moving, through Bletchley Park, Seoul, Paris, and with each stop you could feel the momentum building, and the conversation, well, it started to shift. But then it got to a recent summit in India, and boom, the tone had completely flipped.
This slide puts it side by side, and the difference is huge. The Hague was all about a kind of somber gravity. The focus was on containment, on rules, and the main people in the room, ethicists and diplomats. Now, fast forward to that summit in India. The mood is a frantic race. The focus isn't on rules, it's on funding and infrastructure. And the key players are now industrialists and financiers, the people with the money.
So here's the big question. Why? Why did this happen? What was the catalyst that took us from this cautious, philosophical debate to a flat-out, high-stakes financial race? Well, the answer really comes down to a fundamental change in what it even takes to be in the AI game anymore. You know, in the early days, and we're talking just a few years back, the main ticket to entry was just pure genius. The power was in the hands of the researchers, the people who wrote those foundational papers like "Attention is all you need." You needed brilliant minds, what the source calls a rare cognitive surplus, to even build this stuff.
But today, it's a whole new ballgame. The new barrier to entry isn't just genius, it's what the source calls GDP-sized capital. We are talking billions, maybe even trillions of dollars just for the raw computing power and the infrastructure you need to compete. The game has totally shifted from the laboratory to the bank ledger.
And this shift kicks off a pretty serious chain reaction. First, the main requirement moves from brain power to computing power. When that happens, the incentives totally pivot, right? It goes from being about scientific rigor to being all about return on investment. And the final step, the most profound one, intelligence itself becomes just another commodity you can buy and sell.
Now, this idea of turning intelligence into a commodity has some absolutely staggering implications. It kind of forces us to look at the world through this new, almost brutal economic lens, one that really redefines the value of a human being.
Before we jump to the next slide, just take a second and think about this question. Seriously, what is the total cost in money, in time, in energy to raise and educate one person so they can become a functioning adult? It's just immense, right?
Okay, so hold that thought and listen to this quote from OpenAI's Sam Altman. He literally compared the cost of running a massive data center to the cost of that 20-year human training process. Now, according to the source material, this is so profound because it shows a worldview that puts biological intelligence and synthetic intelligence on the exact same balance sheet.
And here's what that balance sheet looks like. You've got human intelligence with its 2 decades of slow, careful development, and in this new economic view, it's seen as an inefficient trade-off. On the other side, you've got silicon intelligence. It's faster, it's cheaper, and so it becomes the inevitable market choice.
And the fallout from this kind of thinking is massive. The goal can quickly shift from helping humans to just plain replacing them. That sense of responsibility to protect human systems, it just erodes. And why? It's simple. Responsibility is expensive. It creates friction, things like audits, safety checks, hitting the pause button. And in this new capital-fueled race, friction is the absolute enemy.
So where does all this leave us? We have officially entered the industrialization of AI. The phase of tinkering in the workshop is over. The heavy machinery of the global economy is now locking into place, and it's full speed ahead.
This analogy just hits the nail on the head, right? The Industrial Revolution eventually stopped caring about the individual weaver. All that mattered was the output of the loom. Well, the AI revolution is now moving past the individual skill of the coder to focus only on the raw brute force output of the massive computing cluster.
And that brings us right back around to those global summits. The one in The Hague felt like a serious warning about this powerful new force we were unleashing. But the more recent summits, honestly, they feel more like a ribbon-cutting ceremony for a runaway train we already decided to build.
And as that train just picks up more and more speed, the voices calling for a pause, the people saying, hey, maybe we should check the brakes, they're getting harder and harder to hear. They're literally being drowned out by the hum of cooling fans in billions and billions of dollars worth of data centers.
So it really leaves us with one final critical question to think about. As the technology itself gets undeniably smarter and faster and more powerful, is it possible that the collective wisdom we're supposed to be using to guide it is actually depreciating? Something to chew on.